Thank you all for meeting with me. You're all doing some wonderful work destroying the world, but I think it's probably time for us to reevaluate.
Yeah, sorry for the interruption, but I think we're in the wrong meeting. We're not here to destroy the world. We're here to save it. You see, we are some of the leading leaders of liberal causes, and I'm with the Human Rights Campaign, who focus on LGBTQ plus and trans rights. You see, I have the equal sign to let you know that I'm a good person.
Oh, excuse me, women's reproductive rights.
Climate.
Free Palestine. Open borders.
I misspoke before. You guys are not destroying the world, okay? You are saving the world.
Hey, whoa, what's up with those scare quotes?
Pretty sure I didn't use scare quotes when I said saving the world.
Again.
The important thing to keep in mind is that there's a big election coming up, and you and I, we're all on the same page, okay? So if we want Biden to win, he needs to win in order for us to save the world. If we want Biden to win, you folks, and how can I say this? You might need to tone it down just.
Tone down what?
Oh, that's a good question. You're women's reproductive rights, right? Okay. Excellent branding, by the way. I see it's much easier on the ears than baby murder, so kudos to you on that one. But opposing any restrictions all the way through to the 9th month, I mean, you see how you're kind of tipping your hand, right? Makes people think, wait, maybe they actually want to kill babies. And we do, obviously.
No, we don't.
Oh.
No, we don't. We don't.
Right. We don't. But you see how it can kind of look that way. So that's all I'm saying. You know, let's tone it down. And you, immigration, clearly we don't want a completely open border that undermines any sense of national sovereignty, driving down wages for the working class and overtaxing the welfare state. So let's go a bit easy there too. I mean, why not something like this? Why not something like, diversity is our...
Are you trying to say diversity is our strength?
Yes! How do you say that without laughing? Oh my gosh. I can't even get through it. This is head and moi. My sides. My goodness. Okay, what about you? Pro-Palestine. You are, I'm going to say this. You're kind of coming across like you just want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
We do want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Of course, yes. And that's awesome. I'm all for that. I love that. But you need to pretend like you don't want to wipe Israel off the map and kill all the Jews.
Why?
Excuse me?
I mean, we're pretty clear in our position, and most young people and everyone on college campuses, and half the Democratic Party, of course, still support us.
Yeah, it's cool now.
You may have a point there. You might be the only person in here that can be as evil as you want to be and get away with it. All right, still, let's think about tactics. Okay, do you think that occupying bridges and blocking traffic is somehow winning people over to your cause?
Yeah, and making people hate us by blocking traffic is our thing. He's stealing our thing!
You're not stealing your thing. You must die. We will kill you all!
See, this is what I'm talking about. I mean, okay, I love the homicidal thing that you got going on there. I really dig it, okay? But maybe market it just a little bit differently. Like the serial killer that everyone thinks is such a sweet guy, you know? He's got 27 bodies in the basement, but he's like, coaching Little League. That's what I want. Be that guy.
Death to America.
You know, the funny thing is, you don't even look Middle Eastern. Am I wrong, people? Am I wrong?
I'm not. I actually grew up on Long Island, but my parents sent me to college. Death to America.
HRC guy, you have been going over the top as well.
Well, it's important for us, they, them, to be accepted just like everyone else.
Yes, of course. And convincing people that they're intolerant for not wanting men to get naked in women's locker rooms. I guess that's genius. I mean, come on, it's next level stuff. All right, but insisting that your children be mutilated. I mean, come on, it's turning people off, you guys. I mean, not everyone, obviously, but until the election, can we just all pretend for a few months not to be crazed, lunatic, homicidal extremists?
Extremist? No, it's my body, Donald J. Trump. Donald Trump.
You will obey me. Sorry. Glad we're all on the same page, though. So, how do you do it? You know? When I do evil stuff, it seems like nobody likes me. When you do it, everyone finds you sympathetic.
Well, see, my people are oppressed victims. So we can rape, murder, and call for genocide, and it's pretty much totally justified.
Well done, Ahmed.
That is one of the greatest skits by the Babylon Bee of calling things out using humor. It's one of the best ways to have people attempt to learn, right? Attempt to learn. Hey, folks, welcome to the program. Do me a flavor. Will you please give me a finger and rumble and share this program? Little tickle, maybe little wobble, little like, little share, little subscribe, possibly, right? I think my camera's going in and out. I'm going to have to check that. The colors look a little bit off tweaking. Are you seeing that on your side? I'm seeing it on my side. Make sure you repost this stream too. We're going to talk about New Year's. A little bit different than maybe it's been talked about before. But since I like to kind of give you the history angle on everything, I'm going to give you the history angle on, well, New Year's. Did you know it's the ancient ritual of reset? Yeah, pretty awesome, isn't it? Here's something awesome. Today's program is brought to you by the fine folks at Goldco. It's a fairly simple process, folks. I'm not doing this to talk to you about investing in gold and silver. That's not the point. The point is, if you have a 401k, IRA, retirement savings account, this would be the main driver for most people. You put in for decades and decades, and if you needed to get that money, sometimes they're going to ding you 50% to get a hold of your own money. Well, you have a legal way to not have them do that to you if you choose. So I'm just asking if you would just request your free gold and silver kit today, because now is the time to protect your money with gold and silver. That's it. Cover your assets. That's why I do this with my fine partners at Goldco. Please just go to jovanlovesgold.com and get your free kit. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Oh, by the way, let me give you a reminder. First things, many of you are caught in a polar cyclone right now. Have you been paying attention to the super high winds? A polar cyclone, they run about 700 square miles in size. They're counterclockwise. Super high winds. I'm watching chat. Some of you getting hammered by these things. So yes, there's a polar cyclone, polar vortex coming down. You kind of saw the pump and dump. You got some cold. Then the El Nino came in, and El Nino in its little stirrup has sucked down a polar vortex, and that's coming in. So it's coming through. And many people on the East Coast are getting hammered with it. So make sure you stay warm. Another thing, just thoughts and prayers. A friend of mine, Victor Davis Hanson, you've seen him on the program. He's having surgery today. It's pretty serious surgery, but he's having surgery today. What a great man. Was just dialoguing with him yesterday. I think he is a national treasure. He is the smartest man in the room. So wise, right? So wise, so measured. You know, he's a person that is speaking of New Year's, a type and a style to aspire to be like, right? So send out good thoughts and healing prayers as he undergoes surgery today, right? In that. And also want to let you know, mark this down, okay? You know, my email is just my full name, like you see on the screen at Gmail. We're going to have a New Year's Eve party. It's a meet and greet photo share. You can send photos of any stage of your life. Start, if you want to start when you're a baby and hit your teens and go through whatever. And you don't have to necessarily show a before and after. But send me your photos. And let's kind of do a shout out. And get everybody kind of hanging out, meeting and greeting, right? Could be your baby photo, young photo, old, doesn't matter. Could be just today's, doesn't matter. Let's share you with everyone. That's what we're going to do for our New Year's Eve party. I know it might sound boring. Hell, I might grab a bottle of champagne and drink it as we do it. That I can understand, gathering with friends. What I've never understood is people that bring in the new year drunk, just totally hungover. You're starting your new year off wrong and sick. I don't like to do that. Anyway, so make sure you join us tomorrow evening. You've seen this notice across my social media. Send me your photos if you haven't done it. Send me your photos. And you'll be hanging around and chat anyway, right? And we'll let the world take a peek at you and get to know you. We're all family here, right? Will mug shots work? Sure. As long as you post what you were arrested for, right? Doesn't matter, right? You want the world to see you? I'll show the world you. I think it'll be fun, right? I'll think it'll be fun. So we're all family here. Send it and we'll do it. Okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to cover the ancient ritual of reset. God's listening. I'll talk about that. And binding oneself to better behavior. It's the practice of an ancient art. I'm going to tell you where it comes from and why it's so important. We'll get started in just about 2 minutes. Hang tight. Share this right now and we'll get going.
Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County Full Forensic Audit Archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now.
Warning. The following program has been rated Dilligaff and is intended for open-minded audiences. If the truth offends you, or if you are allergic to focused intensity, intellectual athleticism, or the occasional F-bomb or even irreverent humor, please switch off now. If your delicate sensibilities need to be worried about or addressed, might we recommend the Underwater Basket Weaving channel to you? Otherwise, sit back, enjoy the wisdom, insight, and wicked sense of humor.
Cut the crap. How many times a day do you want to say that to politicians? The elite, the loony liberals, the fake news media, and the gender-confused, emotional socialist snowflake crowd. Cut the crap is your secret weapon for fighting for our freedoms and our great republic. It all begins with a massive mental enema, freeing you from the toxic news and politically correct views, which constipate your consciousness with stinking thinking. Your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer. He's known for calling out politicians and telling them to cut the crap. You've seen him on virtually every television network and listened to him on Coast to Coast Radio. And now he's here to help you learn to fight for America. Culture, race, and American politics. They all have one thing in common. They all need to cut the crap. Now, here's your host, Jovan Hutton Pulitzer.
Okay, folks, welcome to the crap, culture, race, and American politics. You know, there's a lot of things we could talk about right now. We could talk about the Somalis and the stealing of billions and billions of dollars, but let me point something out. Do you know that's not the story? Have you awakened to the truth yet? See, we've always had an inkling, and then after 2020, it was thrown in our face that the politicians rape us. They steal tons of money. They enriched themselves. So you know that's not the story. You knew it. That's why you should not be shocked or anything when you hear these stories. You shouldn't be shocked. You should be thankful that truth's getting out. Now, what is the story then? You might think, if that's not the story, they're stealing hundreds of millions or billions or whatever. The story is, what will our current administration do about it? It doesn't matter if it's 100 million or 100 billion or 100 trillion. It's all a crime. It's all a rigged system. You know that. We know that, period. The story we must watch is, what will our government and the current administration do about it? That is the story. Now, I say that because you've probably seen a little bit of move in some of the things I say and share, especially over the last few years. Everything right now is about you. I know that sounds weird, but you've got to get a grip. You got to get your gorilla grip on. Right now, everything is about you. You can get caught in a story about Minnesota and Somalis, but understand it's every damn state. And the more you take that energy and you get pissed off about it, you've got to channel it into something real. The real you should channel it into is yourself. How will you use it to change you? And in changing you is how we change the crap show we've got. We're not spectators. This is a participatory sport. You're not sitting on the bench watching this happen. You're on the playing field. And that's why I thought it would be very important, right? Very important to talk about New Year's, because here we are. Do you make New Year's resolutions? Put it in chat and be honest. Do you write down? That's my question. Not do you think them in your head, but do you actually write down New Year's resolutions? If we were to look back 40 years about people who honestly made New Year's resolutions, I find a disturbing trend. For me, this is kind of a barometer of what's going on. Over 25% less people from 2007 to now make New Year's resolutions. The single largest jump and drop was during the Biden administration. That tells me that people are basically getting worn out, that people are throwing in the towel because they think, we can't change this corrupt system. And that's wrong thinking. We are the only ones that can change the corrupt system. See, that's the great deception of the great liar and the great deceiver, is that you can't do anything. And it's actually the opposite. We can do everything if we stop thinking about it at that government level and we come right back to us and we modify us. And we modify what we focus on, and we modify how we're going to share truth or educate people. But until we take that responsibility, we're going to keep on getting the same old crap. That's the truth. That's the great deception. Look, I learned this firsthand, right? I learned it firsthand. People, I can sit there with President Trump. We kind of laughed about President Trump's still president. The army has control, which was a way to make you to stand down And when, if you had the luxury to ask the man himself, he goes, that's the stupidest shit I ever heard. But see, that's people. They like to think other people have it covered. So this program is going to be about covering yourself. Because New Year's resolutions, right? New Year's resolution is something that's exceptionally ancient. It is not a modern invention at all. It is something that entire civilizations would do going back thousands of years. And it was just understood God's listening. But the whole thing was based on binding yourself to better behavior. See, we want to control these rat bastard politicians. It's very true. We want to just reach out, and that's why I named my program Cut the Crap. You just want to grab them by the lapels and cut the crap. But see, the difference is they're in a system that the only way it's going to change is if we bind ourselves to doing better, not them. Every bit of everything we have happened on our watch. Every bit of everything we are suffering right now happened on our watch, and it happened because we let it happen. We were told, oh, don't you dare be racist. They whipped our ass with words. That's the power of the word. They whipped our ass with words. But I want you to think about this. We gave them permission the entire time. Now, that doesn't mean go yelling and screaming or whatever. It basically is an issue of discernment and not what the president's going to do about it, not what your lawmaker's going to do about it. Isn't it ironic? You will swear you don't worship lawmakers. You will swear they work for us, but you don't do anything about it. You don't actually take that to heart. You expect them to fix it. All of us have left them off the hook. I'll give you a very startling number. I did some research years ago. I released the very first Right Congress website where you could put in your zip code, find your congressperson, and it would populate their address so you could send them, your direct input. That was back during Bill's spill. I did it because email was just coming out and it would just make it easier to do. But during that research, I found out that a congressperson, and it almost is still the same today. You can look up the numbers. If just 10 people were to sit down and write a letter to one particular congressperson, just 10 letters, that congressperson will get it on their radar. Now, notice I said letters. I'm not talking about tweets. I'm not talking about emails. They have the excuse, oh, I didn't see it. Oh, you didn't tag me. Oh, it went to my spam box. You got to go back old school. But it only takes 10 letters to get a congressperson to pay attention. But it's a net result. To get the congressperson to pay attention, 10 people have to be brave enough to sit down and write a realistic letter and tell the lawmaker what's up, what's expected, and how they remedy it. But people don't do it. I want you to think about that. You see, we've confused activity for productivity, so you think tweeting them out. Now you can embarrass them in tweets. You can do some great stuff with social media, just like you did for, Mr. Numchucks in Arizona, right? Brnovich. You can crap on their campaign, but we're talking about changing the country. And we're talking about a time when the country had the same common goals to thrive versus right now, the common goals is to destroy the shit out of our country. So I want to go back to ancient times, and I want you to contemplate something maybe a little bit different than you have each year, right? And consider it, because lawmakers are bound to the duty to hear your grievances. You just don't get your grievances to them. I mean, you'd be startled how low the communication level is. It's because we allow it. And so when we allow this, look, right? This is the world we make. And so I want to go back to this ancient ritual of reset. And I want to talk to you about it. So what I want you to do is I want you to picture a man, and maybe kind of Noah-like, or whatever the case may be, whatever you put in your head to help you visualize this. And in that pale light before dawn, right? This is even before January, as we think of it now, even had a name. The air is cool. Maybe there's a river flowing. It's kind of scented with mud because we're in ancient Assyria or Mesopotamia now. Maybe you smelt the barley chaff, or maybe the chaff you smell was you didn't wash, but you understand what I'm saying. And behind this person is this ancient city. To them, a modern city, but to us, an ancient city. Mesopotamia, Syria, back in biblical times. And this image to this person kind of takes it in so much that he kind of holds his breath and kind of believe, just, wow, this is good. This is, look at us, look what we've done. And it's a person thinking not only as a person, but thinking as a people, because look at the city, look at the irrigation we have, look at the crops we have. It was a collective thing. Now, I'm not talking, communism bullshit. I'm just talking a collective pride in the thing. And so at this time now, imagine for days, the people, they're kind of sweeping, their thresholds, right, at their doors. Kind of think back to, when the blood being smeared across the mantle way back, ancient Egyptian days. I just want to give you an idea. They're, scrubbing their clay floors, washing it out. They're making sure that the walls are plastered nicely, right? And they're whispering prayers kind of to themselves. They're talking prayers, kind of like the sweeping out of the dust is yesterday's bad luck. And they're just getting it out the door, getting that crap behind them. Kind of a scrubbing process, right? Think about that. Now, this isn't housekeeping the way you think of housekeeping or spring cleaning. This is what the ancient ritual was. It was the ancient ritual of reset. Now, I just want you to think about that for a moment. Collectively, you have a lot of people right now, if you think young people, they're going to go out banging and drinking and raving and whatever the bullshit. But what it used to be is the community and all the people were getting together and cleaning up their shit, right? We're getting things organized. We're getting things cleaned up. We're getting things that they put off done. So we're ready to take on the new year. It was a reboot. My Texas ranch, the name of the ranch is Reboot Ranch. It's a computer term. It's where I go just to reboot, right? So society used to do this. They used to kind of collectively clean up, had a consciousness as a people to do this, and they're just getting out the cobwebs and the dust and sparkling thing up. And so their view of it at the time was, look at all the work we put in for this year, but we've got to start the new year without stumbling. That was the goal, to begin the new year. And you're right, inventory time. A big part of this is self-reflection. But the society at the time, and think what we've become, folks. We've become dance parties, blitz, raves, New Year's. Let's see who's going to shake their ass and sing bitches and hoes rap we can't understand. I mean, think about how far we've fallen. That's mankind. But what it used to be was everybody getting ready for the new year, that we started the new year off without stumbling. Now, that's the 4,000-year-old reset ritual. That's what it used to be. That's what it used to be. So as part of this reset ritual, till you have a scope of how big this was and how important it was back, and we'll just take Assyria for a people, right? They would all gather together. They'd walk to the temple district, to the Akaitu festival. That's the festival. In fact, it still goes on to this day in ancient Mesopotamia, modern Mesopotamia now, right? And it was the ancient New Year celebration that arises with the season of planting, meaning you're getting ready to plant the seeds for the new year, figuratively first, literally after, once you get through the season, right, on that side of the world. So the streets were crowded with merchants and farmers and priests and soldiers, everybody kind of being pulled together by, kind of a invisible rope. They're kind of marching down to the temple district. There's music, drums with a steady beat, everybody kind of participating. And that sound would take over the whole area, and everybody was being thankful and sharing. They were sharing baskets that were made, and breads and oils and small figurines. But it wasn't about what you brought. That was just what people did. People brought things. The whole idea of the entire thing was what you promised. That was what the whole festival was about. What are you promising? Chills just went down my spine saying that. What were you promising to do in the new year? So you have to think of it, this was kind of the resolution that we have today. And this is where resolutions evolved into this self-help idea. But there's kind of a secret to it, because, some people kind of mix these things up and or don't achieve them, or, common, if you were to look at common New Year's resolutions, I'm going to lose weight. And people don't understand, see, that's a daily ritual you have to do. If you want to lose weight, you're going to work on it daily. Yes, and by the way, I see people in chat. My New Year's program is not going to be AM. It's going to be PM. I'm going to reverse it up. It's the PM show that we're going to gather. 7 p. Central Standard Time, 7 p.m. Okay? And so, everybody's tuned in to the promise of what they're going to do. And it all began in public, right? It began with a public vow. People would make these vows in public, kind of like when you're gathering for a wedding, right? And I'll give you an example, and it's something that I heard long ago from Ross Perot. Ross Perot, and this is about the time he was running for president, first person to ever get 11% of the popular vote way back when, did it by an infomercial. But I want to go back, and I want to just the character Ross Perot. Ross Perot had a standard for his executives, and just shortening it, the standard for his executives was, if you screw around on your spouse, you're gone. Now, which is a really weird concept, right? In the 80s or 90s or whatever, when you think about how fast the 80s were moving. But his reasoning was, if you would stand before God and your family, if you would stand before God and your family and promise to love, hold, cherish, be faithful, whatever your particular promises were, and that ends up being a lie, and you said that to God and your family, the closest people in your life, well, I'm just your employer and I don't even rank on that chart, so you're certainly going to screw me over, because who am I? You follow what I'm saying? And so in these ancient rituals, it all started out with speaking it in public, because everybody knew and believed the word has to be spoken, it has to be uttered, and the gods are watching, but not only the gods are watching, the gods are listening. And so this is where people spoke of their debts to their community, to their society, to be repaid, and their obligations to be honored. That's what it began as, right? And so you can find really interesting things if you look at the archives. People that borrowed tools and didn't return them made sure they got returned by the end of the year. You made sure you got that crap back. You didn't let it go, right? You didn't let it go, because society came from, your word is your bond, that agreements must be kept. The farmer who took out seed on credit made sure that you were going to go settle your accounts right after the harvest. You made a pledge. Yes, I've taken seed on credit and I've planted, but I have to go take care of my debt. And the actual trading people who cut corners in the previous year basically swore that they would measure honestly. Remember, this battle of human will, temptation, and everything else has been around forever. People of mankind have all fought the same things over and over and over and over for millennia, right? The husbands would swear that they wouldn't drink away the harvest money, the grain money, wouldn't drink it away. But everybody understood the common truth, and the common truth was what it was about. If people don't keep faith in one another, the whole city weakens. Did you catch that? If in fact people in a community, in a town, in a city, right? They're living in cities with walls or whatever the case may be. But if you could not have faith in one another, the city would weaken. Not only the city would weaken, all of the fields would fail. And as a result, everybody would go hungry. Sends chills down my spine again. I want you to think about that. Everybody understood we are only as good as our weakest link. And that if we as you can call it a town, a city, an empire, what it is, if we don't have our head in the right place, and we just don't be good, honest people that keep our freaking word and work our ass off so we can all survive, we all die. I want you to think about that in terms of what's going on right now. I've talked about it many times. I talked about the number one most dangerous weapon ever introduced to the world is the hyphen. The bullshit that made us not Americans, but African Americans. You're right. It was a society, no regard to their God, It wasn't about their particular religion or beliefs. It was their faith in one another and the word. They were a society of moral people. And this is why in ancient times, for thousands of years, this one custom, right? This one custom was the most revered custom. It wasn't a sentimental tradition. It was very simple, ingrained survival technology. Survival technology. And it was all based on a very simple fact. A community cannot renew its future unless it renews its trust. That's a big one, right? Wow. That should just smack you right between the eyes to think of ancient men and women and society freaking understanding we are so in this together. Yeah, bring back morals. And you're right about chills. They knew we freaking live and die together. And our going forward survival won't happen, cannot happen, unless we can have a renewed trust in each other. If you look back at everything that has happened to us and how it got, a lot of it got anchored a long time ago, but in a modern society, and how it just kept on falling apart in Obama era, and then, had Trump come in, everything changed. There was a great renewed trust in America and each other, and then it all fell apart with Biden. What have they really done? They've killed our trust. Do you know what I'm saying? But more importantly than killing our trust, they have flat out killed our trust in each other. Ever thought about that? The system has successfully worked to kill our trust in each other. Shit, we don't trust our food, we don't trust our water, we don't trust our doctors, we don't trust our lawmakers, we don't trust our neighbors. Parents aren't trusting kids, kids aren't trusting parents. You can't trust the teachers, you can't trust the pastor's not going to come out and drag one day and say, I'm really a woman. Do you follow? It is all based on trust. Well, the ancients knew this, that a community cannot renew its future unless it renews its trust. Now, this is an individual choice that has to be made first. This is why I'm doing this. This is something we just have to consider, because this ancient ritual we're talking about, New Year's resolutions, it's far, far deeper, far more important than you can ever imagine. And so back in this time, we're going to go back to ancient Assyria or ancient Mesopotamia, inside the temples. And, they had all kinds of things. The festivals, very dramatic. The people were very dressed up, very strange by modern standards. The stories that they told each other, that they shared, were stories that they recited about chaos and then order, about storms and then kings, and about a world needing to be set right again. Those were the stories that were shared. We've been here before. We kicked its ass. We got through it. The point was really very simple, even though the ceremonies was wildly grand, that the new year is a doorway. Now, I want you to think of this. The new year is a doorway. You're looking at this door. Okay? And everybody knew What passes through that doorway must be worthy. Must be worthy. Must be honorable. Must be ethical. Must not be raping the system, milking the system. Must be worthy. Worthy. And because see, the people didn't just they didn't wish for a better year back then. They didn't wish for a better year. What they did is now I want you to think of the subtle difference here of what the tradition, and that's what we're doing, folks, right? This is an ancient ritual. This goes back far. And I know some of you are saying, how can we trust our food when the ingredients are bad? This is where you understand sometimes you have to take control of your own life. Right? We've gotten used to the system doing it for us. That's how they did it to us, right? But the people didn't just wish. This was not at all about wishing. In fact, that word probably wasn't really even talked about. What the people were doing is they were binding themselves to better behavior. What people did in ancient times, because they felt God was listening, is they binded oneself to better behavior. Now, that's completely different. Have you ever heard New Year's explained as binding yourself to better behavior? We think about it as goals, things we'd like, right? Then the reason they bound themselves to better behavior, because the belief is, and still should be, because of vow, V-O-W, vow, not silent, because of vow, once spoken, a vow once spoken is the rope that ties you to the coming months, that pulls you through. Interesting analogy. When they agreed to bind themselves to a vow, I'll take a vow. No, V-O-W, to a vow, make a vow. They pictured that as once it's spoken, it's attached to you, and it will drag you through the coming months. It'll keep reminding you, we're headed this way. That's what it was all about, period. Binding yourself to better behavior. Now, imagine we're going to jump ahead in the story, centuries, right? Centuries kind of rolling like wheels on a road. Now imagine you're standing in ancient Rome. So we've jumped from ancient Assyria, ancient Mesopotamia, right? And we're going to jump forward to Roman times. So you understand, how long this has been going on. So now you're standing in the middle of Rome. Language is different. Clothing's more fun. Oh, did I say that? Anyway. Everything's different. Go. Anyway. Now you have an empire. Sorry. You have an empire that has both politics and ambition. Politics and ambition. But the human impulse was still the same. To mark a turning point. To mark a turning point. To look back, to look forward, to promise improvement. To look back, to move forward, to promise improvement. Right? Like setting a simple goal. No way am I going to click on a BS link for mRNA in my foods because I understand they don't care about me. They're just posting shit in chat. You follow what I'm saying? Some things you just got to cut out like a cancer. Now, this time in Rome, they kind of had an interesting, I guess you would call it an allegory. They had something physical. They had a new symbol. The symbol was Janus. You ever heard that before? Janus, 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 right? It was the two-faced god. Yeah. You know that X you had? No. It was the two-faced god. But all it stood for was not really having two faces. It basically stood for doorways. And one of the doorways was the beginning, and one was the doorway that faced the past. That's all it meant. It wasn't that they thought their God had two faces. Remember, they didn't have media and they didn't have all this other stuff. They had to tell the story different ways. And so, understanding in their times, what they had is they understood you have to turn to the past in order to understand the future. And everything was about walking through that doorway. Now, this God, what it represented at their time, and I only used the term God because it was a symbol, an idol, whatever you want to call it. It's not really like they fell to their knees. I think archaeology, I discovered a new God. I discovered a new human sacrifice. I think it's all crap, right? Anyway, Janus at that time basically was the representation of that you can be both regretful and hopeful at the same time. You can be ashamed and you can be determined all at once. It was just the concept. It was just the concept of how things work. And that at any moment in time, you can make an about face and change, right? So the Romans during this time, the way they would celebrate new beginnings is they kind of treated it like their gifts at the time were pottery. Because pottery in that stage at the very beginning, it can be fragile, it can crack or whatever, right? And so, and it was kind of like, and they would literally give soft pots. I don't know if you've ever fired anything, right? But the clay, if you handle it wrong, it can be in a pretty shape or whatever, but it can go right on you because it's not fired yet. It's not fired. And in that not fired stage is when the cracks and the bends and everything can happen if you handle it carelessly. And it is the fire that basically makes it stable, right? And so in Roman times, this was kind of their gateway to understanding it. And that's, when they marked calendars differently than everything else, and calendars were reformed, and this is kind of where January comes about in our time. It becomes the physical manifestation of what's called the civic year. That's how we get January. It's the civic year is going to begin. And so that's when your promises, right? The idea of New Year's promises, they get welded at that time to a fixed date. And that fixed date was January. And that kind of, has been a starting line, not only for their entire society, but it's our entire society down to today. Now, what's interesting, if you were to look at this, there's a spiritual element to it in all of these. There's a spiritual element into this renewing, walking through the doorway, making your resolutions, making your commitments. But it wasn't just considered spirituality, right? Ironically, and I guess prophetically, and I guess something we should go back and look that we can take from the Romans is it was also the civic identity. Another chill goes down my spine. This process of walking through the door, being worthy to walk through that door, looking back, improving, going forward, was weaved into the fiber of society as civic duty. It actually set the public rhythm. It was kind of Rome's way, the empire telling everyone and doing it, that we start again. We reorder the ledger, and we get our house straight, and we go at it yet again. And I think many times now we don't think about the concept of we're all in this together, and then we don't think about a role to play in it. And for God's sakes, we've most assuredly lost civic duty, and just the thought of what January really means and how it comes down to us over thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But it's a chance to walk through the doorway, to bind yourself to something better, right? We keep on pushing through the years. We get to Europe. Yeah, rejiggering, if you understand that term, rejiggering it. So when we get to Europe, there's really no marble temples. We had stone churches. We had wooden houses. The year's ending. Candles are burning. People would gather together in silence and song. As we get into these, Middle Ages and stuff in Europe, it wasn't like celebration style. So it's not party like. That's not what it is. But it's about reflection. Now, again, I'm telling you this because I want you to realize what we've lost, not understanding history. Because if you were to ask young people today, what are you going to do for New Year's Eve? What's your resolutions? Oh, I'm going to go to this concert. You follow? No, this was something that was society, not some bullshit party. It was a society thing. And let's stay on the topic if we could. It's about resolutions. And so it was a reflective, tender moment is what it was. Okay? People gathered, they reflected. In the Christian sense, as Christianity took off, it became the time of confession, repentance, recommitment. It had disassociated itself while seeing it through God's. In ancient times, the higher standard was attached to whatever God or gods, small g, plural, that was out there, right? And this is kind of where we came more into a focus of the individual a little bit deeper. Maybe this is where we lost a little bit of the ancient community tied to everything, that we're all interconnected, because it kind of became a Christian-y thing. And I guess maybe the Christian-y part cut out the pagans or cut out what it was. But it was certainly not about appeasing the gods. It was with offerings. It was more about correcting the heart, or making peace with your neighbor, or returning what you took, or to stop habits that corrode your soul. In those times, going back to the community aspect of it, the community would bring in the New Year's together. They'd actually stay awake on this day, right? Or I should say tomorrow. They would stay awake, and they would all hold watch, and collectively praying and seeing the one day go out and the new year come in. Their motto back then, and how it came down through Christianity, was if we must step into time, then let's step into time wide awake. Think about that. What has it become? It's become bless drink your ass off, screw your ass off, blitz, sleep in late. It was never that. It was never that. It was, if we must step into time, then let us step into it wide awake. See, this was the reverence issue, right? And trust me, never screw your ass off. Simply because you might want to use it again someday. Never, ever, ever screw your ass off. Thank you for letting me know that in chat. Anyway, this is where the reverence part of it was. Right? This was the reverence part of it. Because back then, people understood something about reverence, and reverence just made sense because people understood you cannot heal what you refuse to face. You cannot heal what you refuse to face. And that's why New Year's in our lives, we've lost connection to it, but that was what New Year's symbolized, was that sanctioned moment to face it. Pretty awesome, isn't it? That's the meaning. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. The sanctioned moment, face it, fix this, because you cannot fix what you do not face. And that was the whole thing about, were you worthy? Were you even going to be allowed to walk through that door differently? That's all it's about. Of course, then we get modern life. The clock, the factory whistle, the calendar on the wall, fireworks in the city streets. And what happened is the sacred, which it's always been, and the civic blended with the personal. That's why we lost all the meaning of what this really is. The sacred and the civic, those two things blended with the personal. And resolutions suffered because they became less communal and more individual. I want health, I want money, I want habits, I want character. Do you notice the subtle change there? Instead of, this is all of us blessing each other and we're all in this together. And we all have to get this right. Right? Some of you are talking about the ball drop. Now it means, okay, you're going to lift it off this nose and go over here and bat wing someone else. That's when a big change happened. That's when a really big change happened. We went from communal, we're all in this together. We sink or swim together. We've got to focus on, how do we make this work better? We've got to support each other better. We've got to be better. And the sacred and the civic blended with the personal, and resolutions became actually not about communal in any way. They became individual, health and money and all this other stuff. But yet the ancient shape still remains. We just kind of cleaned it up. And we do naturally just kind of look back and forth with a little bit of pinch of regret. And we look forward and we feel this surge of possibility. And in that moment, you say, we can begin again. This is down to your DNA. It has been enacted for so long. It has been enacted for so long that it's kind of written into our DNA. And even as it goes on in this custom process, you know, the human need kind of never goes out of it. But what's interesting is we are creatures that learn by story. You learn a lot more when it's told to you as a story. And that's why I wanted to tell you the true meaning behind, you know, what we're doing here in all of this. Because we are creatures that learn by stories. And the New York story tells us a story that desperately we want to be true, that we don't want to be trapped inside last year's mistakes, and that we can honor what we promised and we can become what we respect. And what used to be thousands and thousands of years ago at dawn is now kind of the modern person with a notebook at midnight doing the same thing in reality. They're standing at the edge of a threshold, choosing what kind of person will cross it. And that choice must be made out loud, must be made with intention, must be made with reverence. And that is why this tradition has lasted so long, because it's, you know what, scientifically sound as well. But just like anything else I teach you, it's about what word. And the whole concept that gets missed in this is we took out the civic duty. We took out the spirituality, and we minimized it by making it a wish versus what it is originally and intended and what worked, a plan. That's the difference. We turned it into something you wish versus something that you plan. Now, here's why when I put in here, you have to understand this ancient ritual, because here's what it comes down to. So you understand the ritual as it plays out. And truly, how many times you can set that door. See, it's called a temporal landmark. You do it all the time. You just don't realize the power of it. You do it all the time. The temporal landmark, which is wired into your brain, is that meaningful boundary, a boundary you set, not that somebody else sets for you, but you set. It's the before and after. It's the chapter life break in your story. And you have so many built-in temporal boundaries, just like your brain, that, you know, it's New Year's Day or birthday or Mondays or the first day of the month or moving to a new city, starting a new job, graduating, coming back from a trip, right? After the breakup, whatever. You have temporal boundaries. And what it does is it actually refreshes your brain. It's a true phenomenon. It's a true phenomenon. Because if you understand the use of temporal boundaries, it's out with the old, in with the new. This is actually called the fresh start effect. There is a psychological hack here. And what it does is it actually allows you to psychologically distance yourself from past mistakes and focus on future improvement. That's always good for oneself. I always do this. I always think about this. I'm constantly for myself in a state of renew. If you've followed me for a while, you know this is a big deal for me starting in November. It's biblical. Bible and Jesus always taught about diligent planning and steady work. It's kind of funny. It's not like a lottery ticket. Even in the Bible, it's not like a lottery ticket. It tells you in Corinthians, run to win, pursue the prize, run to win. It requires action. I've told you this before, the most often repeated word by Jesus is the word ask. Personally, I believe it's a formula, ASK. It's not just a thing. In it is the exact formula, ASK, ask. Ask means your prayers and petitions. That's basically your thoughts. Focus your mind on it. That's ask. And what I've told you about in these resolutions is you have to speak them into being. You don't just think them into being. You got to speak them into being. So that's the A in ask. The second part of the formula, the S, is seek. It's not just sit there and pray for it. You have to verbally get it out, focus on it, and then you've got to go seek it. It requires you. It requires you to begin the search. And then the kicker is to know, that's the K, know, ask, seek, know. You got to know when it's there, because some people think it's the thunderclap voice of God when it might be just a crack in a door, something small. But you got to realize it takes action and stuff to it. All of this is taught from a biblical standpoint, right? Self-examination, interchange over time. It's all about balance. It's the parable of talents, right? The parable of talents, stewardship and growth. Invest and multiply. He gave the talents, the rich person gave the talents to the servants. One buries it out of fear. One invests it and multiplies. If we're living in biblical times, we have to think about these things. The one who got it, sought it out and knew, they took responsible action. They grew from it. The other one that froze under fear, dead. Now, that's a lot what's going on right now. People are frozen in fear. We got cancel culture as the great deceivers lie to get you frozen in fear. Oh, I don't want to say anything about that. They'll just cancel me. They'll think I'm bad. That's the great deception. That's Satan's tool, right? And this is why these temporal landmarks are so important. Science is so behind this that if you speak it versus think it, it has more magnitudes of being created. But you have to understand this is what's called a medium to large effect. Medium to large effect. Practicing this, you've got to start thinking about it. I want to be rich in the new year. Vern, you're right. It could be a smile from a stranger that changes your life. New Year's is a big deal. Thank you, Denny. New Year's is a big deal. It's a big deal. It's not minor. It's thousands of years behind it. But what also got lost in this translation, where it became party your ass off, right? Stumble through the doorway drunk. We also, when it comes to resolutions, people think about it, well, this year I'm going to be a millionaire. No. It's the medium to large effect is exactly what it is. the medium to large effect. And people don't think about this. It's actually a process of weeks to months. And people forget that. It's weeks to months. It's not what year. And it's all designed to be behavior change, because it is not about wishful thinking. It's about binding, agreeing, binding. Even like to say, Satan, I bind you from me. Binding to yourself to be better. Right? Not wishful thinking. And this is why it's so important to your brain. And I just want you to think, it's so easy. It's just baby steps. It's just baby steps. It's never big, honking, difficult goals. We got it backwards. It's just about, let's be a little bit better. Isn't being a little bit better and just cleaning up the way you eat also getting you to that same way to lose weight? Isn't being a little bit better and diligent in work getting you to that point that maybe you earn a little more or do a little bit more? It requires implementing your intentions. That's the catch of it all. But it's never, ever, 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 ever about the big goals. Almost unanimously, those fail because people don't understand its small steps and its little things. And what causes people to go awry is what the system uses against us. Friction. What are the type of friction out there? It's not about desire. You can desire it all you want. You got to understand there's always going to be friction. It's never going to go away. And you need to use the friction to remind you, do it. Don't desire it, do it. And what's the friction? You forget about it. You get busy, or you get hit with temptations, or you're confused. You don't know what to do in the moment. That's friction. And so what the deceiver uses to convince you can't do it, that friction, you got to remember, the deceiver the deceiver would not be even in your life giving you friction to stop it if they didn't believe you'd automatically fail. See, they know you would win. They know you would win. Powers and principalities. They know you will make it. And that's why they even set it against you to begin with. Because the reality is, if they didn't give a shit about you, well, they wouldn't give a shit about you. Do you understand that simple premise? Because see, the secret is, once you understand that friction is the deception, and you expect the friction, and you agree that nothing's going to hold you back, then something very interesting happens. As you keep on pushing back on that friction, it becomes fact. And that fact becomes your normal habit forever. That's it. That's how all this shit works. Ancient men had it right. We've been separated from our roots. We've been separated from we're all connected. We've been hyphenated to oblivion. And darkness knows. Darkness knows. If it can just give you a little more friction, you'll give up. Darkness also knows if it can convince you to get yourself stinking freaking drunk for the New Year's and horribly hungover, you'll forget about the resolutions and you'll start pushing them off day one. And that's friction. But I want you to remember, friction is the gut check. When that friction hits you, it is because the universe, the bad part of the universe, believes you'll get to that end goal and it doesn't want you to get there. So when you feel that friction, when you feel that temptation, when you feel, oh, damn it all, oh, fuck it, maybe, whatever, that's the friction. That is the universe of bad telling you we're going to hold you back because we know if you get there, you're going to be unstoppable. And so what you see as bad is actually Satan saying, I cannot take you living in truth and opened up. I can't. And therefore, I've got to stop you. And you know what? God always tells you you're great and special and meant for it. I think you've ignored it. So why don't you pay attention when Satan tells you the same shit and he's scared of you? Share this program. I love you all.
Our courts are based on clear and convincing evidence. Want convictions? Want justice? For what happened in the 2020 election? Then we need your help. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The decision you make in the next few moments could decide whether we ever get our elections fixed or not. Here's why. Trump campaign and allies filed 64 different lawsuits. They all went down in flames. 100% of these cases were presented on It's the Machines, or The Machines Changed the Votes, or the voting company executive said he would make sure Donald J. Trump would not win. They all went down in flames. Why? You can't bring theories to court as evidence. No supposed Zoom call or six-degree polynomial math theory or census data is or ever will be proof of fraud. You can't bring theories to court as evidence. Here's why. In both civil and criminal law, the side making a claim carries the burden of proof, and prosecutors must prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Without physical or otherwise verifiable evidence, a case cannot meet this high threshold. Physical evidence is the key. The question is, did anyone get relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election? And the answer is yes, absolutely. The full forensic audit of Maricopa County, Arizona is the only evidence-gathering work which gathered relevant, reliable, provable, testable, and duplicatable evidence of what really happened in the 2020 general election. Evidence so damning that the system, the deep state, and those who pull the strings of this country have fought to keep it hidden and have hoped to have it be forgotten to time. Almost $3 million invested in time, funds, and efforts to unlock that which the system wanted hidden. But now, that evidence is in danger of being lost forever. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. With the 2026 midterms coming up, the system is going to try to lame duck President Trump and then most likely introduce new impeachment proceedings. This is the evidence which will help win the war which is surely to come. We need to keep Maricopa County full forensic investigation and archives secure and ongoing. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then we need your help. Please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We need your help securing the full forensic audit archives. Don't allow the only testable, objective, and reliable 2020 election evidence fall into obscurity. Millions were spent on getting it documented and tested. This is historic evidence. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. The historic Maricopa County full forensic audit effort processed 20,895,610 digital and forensic images of varying formats, resulted in 208 million individual evidence-proof files. The system processed over 58 billion forensic measurements, resulting in over 2 trillion individual base computations. No hopium, no hype, just hardcore forensic evidence. Please make sure the Maricopa County full forensic audit archives survive. Donate now. So if you want what happened in the 2020 election fixed, then please donate to protect and secure this historic evidence. We can't do it without you. We need you. America needs you. Our future needs you. Please donate now. Not fixing 2020 will damn our nation forever. Please donate now.